Okay, welcome back to the ProPresenter training. At this point, we're going to go over the essential skills that you need for Sunday. So let's go ahead and bring up that training guide again. Remember, it's down here, little robot icon, and that'll just open up this training guide. So we're looking here, essential Sunday skills, or essential skills for Sunday. Let's go ahead and jump down to that. So here is a more detailed outline of what you'll need to know for Sunday. So let's start with changing the back screen layout. Again, you can see a preview of the back screen on those two little dual screens below the iMac monitor, and so you'll be able to double check what you're doing there. So there are two main back screen layouts that need to be changed depending on what's going on stage. The rule of thumb is to have the announcement type back screen for any time there's someone on stage speaking and not singing. So whether that's announcements, a missionary and update, some kind of prayer, and the most important thing is the message. The message has to have the announcements type back screen layout, okay? And the worship needs to have the singing or worship back screen layout. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this video image bin. Oops, okay. How we do this is we bring up ProPresenter's preferences first. There are two ways to do that. The shortcut is Command comma, or you can click ProPresenter Preferences. Okay, so that brings up this menu, and this is basically the preferences menu for ProPresenter. There are several different tabs here on the top. Make sure you're in the Display tab. Then over here on the right, click Configure Stage Display. That's going to bring up two windows. This big one is going to show you a preview of what that back screen looks like. Now, for now, I'm going to leave it up, but you need to close this so that it doesn't get in your way. Okay, but I'll show you what these two are. So this little stage display options lets you change between multiple different layouts for the back screen. Okay, so this is what it looks like for the announcements, sermon, prelude. This is when I say announcements back screen, this is what I'm talking about. When I say songs or worship back screen, this is what I'm talking about. So this is what it needs to be for songs, and if you look at it, it makes sense. On the left is the current slide, and on the right is the next slide. That's going to help them while they're singing so that they know where they're going and what lyrics are coming up, nice and big so that they can see it from the stage. For the announcements, it has a few things. Let me drag this out of the way. It has the current slide, and the way this is configured, it will display images. So it'll display, because Don usually has some kind of background on his sermon slides. It also has what's coming next in a little bit smaller window down here. This is also very important. This is the countdown clock that lets Don know when he needs to try to wrap things up in order to get to the second balanced service on time. So keeping that in mind, we're going to close this for now. This will stay up when this closes. All you need on this, don't touch any of the stuff down here. You don't need to, and it may take a little while to correct it if you do change it and you don't know really what you're doing. So this little window right here is all that you really need. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this down here to the bottom left and just kind of keep it right there next to the dock because that's all you need. So if you need to change the background or the back screen, you just click on there once to activate it so it'll turn blue. So you notice when you click away from it, it's kind of grayish. If you click on it, it'll change to blue and it'll say, okay, now you're changing options here. Click songs and it'll change the back screen. Let me bring up the back screen image here again so that you can see what we're doing. So leave this down here. Again, you should not have this big screen up while you're running slides, obviously, because you can't see anything else on the screen. But just to show you what it's doing, if you click once down here, click, and it changes to the announcement layout. So once the announcements are over, let's say we're going back into worship, the next set of songs, click songs, and then the musicians are ready. Okay? That's pretty important. And that's all explained right here if you ever get lost and need to find it again. So let's just bring that down here. We'll close this. Okay. So see, and we can close preferences. So now that just kind of lives down there. So it's right there. You don't have to go through all the menu options again. It just kind of stays down here. Okay, clocks. This is, that countdown clock I was talking about on the sermon window. That will, or on the announcements back screen, that is going to change how the clock works. So up here in the toolbar, you see this clocks button. You're going to click that, and it brings up this window down here. You can leave this down here if you want. Most people just start the clock and then close it. The way we've changed doing this is we have a countdown clock that counts down to a time. The way we used to do it is have it count down 35 minutes, and you have to start the timer as soon as Don got on stage. Now you can pretty much start this at any point on Sunday, and as long as it's before the message, you're good. So we'll have this countdown 1, and it's a countdown 2 time, 11:40. All you have to do is click start. So notice I'm recording this at 9:45 a.m., and so we've got an hour and 45 minutes. So you can start this as soon as you come in and just forget about it. So you can close that, and that's it. You're good. If you want to double check it, again, you can look at the back screen, little screen down here on the iMac when you're here, but I'm not recording that, so you can't really see it. But when you click the announcements, the sermon and prelude, it'll change back there, and you can double check. But let me go ahead and bring up the big screen again. Okay, so announcements. And you can see this countdown is running nice and big so that they can't miss it. Okay. So again, let's drag that down there. This is kind of our default, so we'll close that. Okay, stage messages. In creative service, we typically don't use a stage message just because we're not really coordinating a whole lot. The only thing we're coordinating is when the preacher has to come on stage or leave, but most of that is pretty routine. I mean, we don't have anything that we need to communicate. In balanced service, we do use this quite a bit. So if you ever serve over there, you have to send a message when Don is backstage and ready to come on so that they don't play another filler song waiting for Don to finish over here, so that they know that Don is backstage. So just in case you have to use it, it's right here under messages. It's got a blue and green little speech bubble. I'm sorry, not that one. Stage message. That's what we're talking about. So it's over here. It's got the little megaphone on it. And you can just type test. And when you hit enter, it will send the message. Now, obviously, you can't see any of that because it's not set up to show it. So let me go ahead and bring up the back screen again. And we'll go to songs because it's only on the songs layout. And if we click send message, that's what they're seeing. So, and it'll, if you keep hitting enter or keep clicking send message, then it'll show up. Eventually, it stops blinking. Now, you can hide the message by doing that and then send it again. Or you can click clear and it clears the text too. So, like for example, in balance, we have Don is ready. And we keep hitting send message so that they keep seeing it until we get a nod or something from the worship leader. And then we can just leave it like that. Okay. And then once Don comes on stage, we can click hide or clear. And then actually we have to go back to the announcement slide because he needs these for when he preaches. Okay? So that's the stage display message. And I'll close this to get it out of the way. Again, you can leave this up. It just will kind of hang out there. Since we don't use it that much in creative, I'll just go ahead and close it. Kids emergency message. This is something that we haven't used very much in the past, at least not since I've gotten here. But this is something that we're going to definitely bring back in because it's one of those kids' safety measures. So if parents leave their kids over in the nursery or anywhere over in kids' church, they all get a number, and the parent gets a little sticker. If I'm understanding this correctly, they get a little sticker that has their kid's number on it. And so there's a real discreet way to say that their kid is having an emergency and they need the parent pulled out of service, rather than having someone come up in the middle of service and say, kid number 443 or Joseph, whoever, is having an issue. I need their parents. There's a more discreet way to do it. So if you click messages, this should already be set up as childcare 2 and with the message here. So let's say 45, actually, there you go for the Star Wars fans. So let's say that's the number that's given to you to put on stage. If you click show message, it'll just kind of appear nice and discreetly down here in the corner. So it can be done in the middle of worship, in the middle of the sermon. It doesn't matter. It'll display real discreet down here in the corner. Okay? And it's set up right now to display for a minute. And if it's displaying, that's kind of your role. I mean, you don't have to keep an eye out to make sure that the parent leaves. Just make sure the number gets up. And if they need the number put up again, they'll let you know. Okay? So after a minute, it will go away, which should be soon. I'm going to wait to see if it fades out. If you immediately get confirmation and say you need to pull it right away, you can just click hide. But this should just disappear after a minute. If not, this is going to be a really awkward part of this video. There we go. Perfect. Okay. That's it. So I would leave this down here. Just leave it up or somewhere on the screen. You know, I don't care where you put it. Everybody likes different layouts, whatever. As long as this is up, that's good. This should not be changed from childcare 2, and all you should have to change is the number. Don't put the name because that can be a privacy issue. Just put the kid's number. All right? And show message, real simple. Video audio checks. So let's say there's a video in the service. We definitely need to check the audio on that. Let me go ahead and find a service that had a video. Should have done this ahead of time. My apologies. We definitely want to check the video to make sure that it has audio sending to the board, because what you don't want to happen is to play the video and there be no audio going out to the speakers. There are a few things you need to check first, but this is what you have to remember. It is the responsibility of the presenter. So it is your responsibility to make sure that we check the videos and to make sure that the audio is working. And it's your responsibility to remind the audio engineer at some point before doors open to say, hey, we have a video or 2 videos or whatever. We need to get an audio check. And make sure that it's all working before the doors open. So a good time to typically do this is after the band is done rehearsing and before doors open. So a couple of things to check. Make sure that the audio cable is plugged into the back of the iMac. This is a pain because we don't have a Thunderbolt dock yet to where you can just make sure it's plugged in. You actually have to turn the screen of the iMac. So if you can hear me doing that, I'm turning it right now. And plug it into the back. It's on the right-hand side of the screen. So I just plugged that in. All right. And so what we'll do, just to check the video, all you have to do is make sure that, wait on the audio guy's cue, and he says, okay, play it. Just click it, and it should be sending audio over to the board. And for right now, just so that you can hear it with this mic, because I don't have the input coming into the recording, I'm going to... Okay. So if you're hearing audio coming out of the screen, that means your audio cable's not plugged in. So you'll hear me plug it back in. And the audio goes away from the screen, which means it's going over to the board. So we do that just to make sure that there's not any problems. If there is a problem, the audio guy should take care of it. And if you guys both can't figure it out, text me or call me, and I'll come in and help you diagnose it. Okay? So let's go back to the top here to our overview. In the next video, we'll talk about how to import a sermon. You will probably do this every Sunday, and it's one of those skills that you have to have if you're going to be doing the presentation position. It is pretty involved and pretty busy when you first start doing it, but after you do it a couple times, it kind of becomes muscle memory, and it becomes easier.